Welcome back. I'm excited to see everybody. I know that we had school the last 2 days of last week, but we didn't do a family time video. So if I haven't had a chance to see you or talk to you yet, I'm excited to be back. I hope that you had a great break and a great holiday. I hope you got to be surrounded by loved ones and you got to recharge your batteries a little bit. And if you didn't, if you're someone who didn't get to have that experience for the holidays, just know that I'm glad you're back here. I care about you. There's other people here who care about you, and I'm excited to be back in our routine. It's an important thing for us to remember, for everybody to remember, that the holidays can be a stressful time for people as well, especially if you're dealing with something at home. If you've got a challenging situation at home, then that can be kind of a reminder of maybe the things that you don't have or the things you feel like you don't have. That the holidays can be a lonely time if you're not surrounded by friends and family and celebration. And it's easy to look at maybe whether it's presents other people are getting or activities other people get to do. And if you don't get to do those things, it can be a difficult time. So for all of you who are in that boat, I know it is some of you, I'm glad you're here, care about you, glad to be back in school. And for all of us who did get to celebrate with friends and family and those sorts of things, make sure you're looking out for everybody else, because not everybody got to experience that, and that can be tough during the holidays. That all being said, here we are. It's a new calendar year. It's January 2025. It's the end of first semester. We end first semester this week. Then we'll be starting a second semester. It's a great time to look at where we're at and where we want to be, even if you're not like a New Year's resolution person, which I don't know if I'm necessarily big on New Year's resolutions. I think the best time to set a new goal is right now. It's the old adage, the best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. Second best time is today. So you don't need to wait for a new year or the start of a new week or whatever. If you want to make a change, make it right now. Start working on it right now. But the switch of the calendar year, and for us in the school setting, the end of a semester does give us a little time to reflect and kind of make some new goals. I try and do that. We're going to talk about it in class. Things where I'm like, okay, here's where I'm looking ahead. Here's things that I want to work on. Here's things I want us to be better at. It's a great time to do that. So one, I will say, try to manage your stress this week. The end of semester can be a stressful time for students and for teachers, as it's kind of across the board. Like with you students, I see it, some of you who are really pursuing like high academic achievement where it's like, oh, I'm trying to get straight A's and I'm really stressed about this test. I see it where some of you are studying for a test and you're scrambling and you get worked up, or you got a test score that wasn't what you wanted it to be and you put a lot of pressure on yourself. And that pressure is good to a point. I want you to be high achieving, but remember, the best you can do is the best you can do. So ask questions, study what you need to study, put the work in, try to go into the test or final assignment paper or whatever, feeling as good as you can, as confident as you can. And if you give your genuine best effort, like not cutting corners and expecting something to be handed to you, but if you give your genuine best effort, let the chips fall where they may. Okay, that's all you can do. On the other end, I know some of you are like struggling. It's like, geez, I kind of dug myself into a hole with this class. I got like 5 things that I need to get done for the end of the semester. I know some of you are doing that right before we were going into break, and you're working in the Success Center and trying to get that stuff done. I know that's stressful too. So chip away one thing at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself and say, oh my gosh, I've got all this weighing down on me. Okay, what's the next thing you can do? What's the next thing you can do? What's the next thing you can do? And the nice thing, one of the great things about the school cycle is that then this semester ends and then everybody kind of gets a clean slate again. You kind of get to start fresh, and that's great. You don't always get to do that in other areas of life. So chip away at things one piece at a time. Remember if teachers are on you about stuff. It's because we care about you. We want you to be successful and get the things you need to get done. And like I said, try to focus on one thing at a time. All right, that all being said, for family time this week, we're talking about strength. I think it's a great time to talk about strength, especially when we're looking at maybe new goals, where we want to go. One thing that I struggle with sometimes, like as a teacher and a coach, I think it's one of the more challenging things about working in education, is that a lot of times I can see your greatness and you can't see it yet. And that's part of the exciting thing about teaching and coaching is if I can help, man, just like a little bit, if I can help you start to realize your own strength, your own power, the gifts that you have and the ones that you could realize, the things you have to work for, but you can bring to life if you really want to. And that's tough sometimes when I see some of you like doubting yourself, like we've been doing presentations for like our presenting standard in art class. And sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get some of you to present and presenting about stuff that creatively influences you, things that you are excited about, just because it's hard for us to put ourselves out there sometimes. And I see that when I'm looking at like, what are your strengths, letting yourself shine a little bit. And I think we run into a couple of things. I think sometimes some of us are afraid to show who we are, to put ourselves out there, to show our true power, because we're afraid of what other people are going to think, right? We're afraid that we're going to be judged. We're afraid that other people may not like that version of ourselves. We don't want to stand out sometimes, right? That's tough in middle school and high school, where you are trying to find your place socially and you're trying to connect with people. It's difficult to stand out, to put the spotlight on you. And some of you, I appreciate when people are humble and don't seek a bunch of attention, but it's also okay to let your light shine, to be who you are. And that attracts the right kind of people around you. And if you're not being yourself, right? If you're not letting your true self show through, and you're not pursuing the things you want to pursue to try to be the best version of yourself, it's hard to be happy, man, because we're out of alignment, right, with what we're presenting to the world and what we really feel. Okay, and that can be tough. On the flip side, I think sometimes I see people, and this is students, but people of all ages, who get into this habit of like posturing, right? To try to seem overly confident, or who try to fit in with the cool crowd, or try to whatever. And my heart kind of goes out to those people, because a lot of times it seems very false to me. It seems like a mask that we're putting on, where it's like, oh, I have to try to have a little bravado, or I have to dress the way that I know this other group of people dresses, and I have to try and fit in with this particular crowd, whatever. So I'm trying to overcompensate, trying to be overly confident in things maybe, and that to me is a little bit of a mask too. If you're truly comfortable with yourself, you're not having to try to seek attention in that way, or to try to cover. I think that when I see like, especially men who are like overly aggressive, and I always think like, oh man, like you're covering up for some insecurities that you're feeling. And that happens to a lot of us. We all fall in those things. Like I know, certainly when I was younger, I fell into, just was like kind of anxious when I was like really young, like in elementary and like even through middle school. It's like, yeah, it's like I was like worried that, I don't know, I was going to screw things up. I definitely fell in that group of like trying to get, good grades. I never wanted to make a mistake on anything. I put a lot of pressure on myself, but I also didn't want to like stand out in any way, because I was kind of worried that other students were going to judge me and things like that. And that takes It doesn't seem like it should, but it takes some practice to be yourself, practice on being yourself. And that is a tremendous strength. So we'll talk about this more in class. I don't want to talk too much longer on the video, but when we're looking at strength this week, I want you to think about what are the strengths that you have, because you all have them. Everybody has natural strengths, abilities, things that you bring to the table that no one else has, right? And I want you to feel like you can share those things and give those things to the world, because you might have the one thing that somebody else really needs. And if you're too afraid to bring it to the table, the whole world misses out on that. So I want you to think of your strength. I want you to think of how we can build strength. And I'm a big proponent of strength. Obviously, physical strength, right, in the weight room, things like that. But more importantly, like mental strength, emotional strength, and understanding that you can train all those things. You can build all of those things. And you have to do them. You have to build those things by being a little uncomfortable, right? It's called progressive overload in like strength and conditioning, where you can't do the same weight all the time. You're not going to get stronger. You have to do that in life too. You have to push yourself a little bit more, a little farther than you think you can maybe go, and then you can adapt. You don't want to jump in so far that you're going to get hurt, but enough where you're uncomfortable. And that's part of my job. Part of our jobs as teachers, make you a little uncomfortable in a safe way, a little uncomfortable so you can grow, so you can get stronger. We're going to talk about that all this week. I want you to think about some of the strengths that you have and how you can do things to get stronger in all the phases of your life. All right. Super great to be back in school. Great to see everybody. Until next time, much love.